You think it's lust, but it's emptiness. You thought it was lust, that urge that crept in during the silence, when no one called, when no one stayed. But what if it wasn't about wanting another body, but wanting to feel something again? You tell yourself you crave sex, but it's not your body that's hungry. It's your soul. You long to be seen, felt, understood. And when no one gives that to you, you reach for bodies, hoping their skin will fill your silence. But Carl Jung had a different take. He believed lust, in its rawest form, wasn't about passion. It was a cry. Not from your flesh, but from the shadow you buried. The you that never got held. Because lust, unchecked, isn't a fire. It's a void in disguise. It burns through the night, through faces, through moments, and still leaves you starving. You don't want sex. You want presence. You don't need bodies. You need connection. But the world told you to cope through touch, to replace emotion with sensation and silence with noise. So you kept reaching, and the more you reached, the more alone you felt. What you called lust was never about wanting more. It was about never feeling enough. And what if no one ever taught you the difference? Lust isn't pleasure. It's distraction, a quick fix for the ache you never name. You say you're lonely, but what you really are is disconnected. You're chasing warmth with cold hands. You scroll, swipe, touch, but it never touches you back. Carl Jung believed desire without awareness is just repetition. You're not addicted to sex. You're addicted to escaping the silence of your soul. You repeat the cycle because no one taught you the language of your own loneliness. You were told to move on, find someone new, stay busy. So you ran, from silence to noise, from emptiness to stimulation. But nothing sticks. Nothing lasts. Because the problem isn't outside. It's in the part of you you keep ignoring. Carl Jung said that what we fail to integrate becomes our fate. You don't need a lover. You need to stop abandoning yourself in someone else's arms. You confuse lust with closeness, but bodies aren't bridges. They're distractions. You crave a soul that listens, not a touch that fades. And still, you chase hands that hold you only in flesh, not in feeling. This is where the wound deepens, when your need to be seen is answered by someone who only looks. You want presence, but you settle for attention. You want depth, but you cling to surface. And every time you do, you teach your soul that crumbs are enough. But Jung said, the self starves where truth is silenced. You confuse lust with closeness, but bodies aren't bridges, they're distractions. You crave a soul that listens, not a touch that fades. And still, you chase hands that hold you only in flesh, not in feeling. This is where the wound deepens. When your need to be seen is answered by someone who only looks. You want presence, but you settle for attention. You want depth, but you cling to surface. And every time you do, you teach your soul that crumbs are enough. But Jung said, the self starves where truth is silenced. If this feels familiar, it's not by accident. It means your soul is trying to speak through the ache. So here's the truth. You can keep reaching for bodies, or you can reach for yourself. You can keep numbing the hunger, or finally listen to what it's saying. Carl Jung said healing begins when we face the thing we fear within. So pause, breathe, and if this hit you deep, don't scroll. I choose presence over escape. Share this if you're done feeding your soul with silence. Peace doesn't come from finding the right person. It comes from no longer abandoning the person you already are. You've spent so long searching for what you already carry, trying to feel wanted while never wanting yourself. But healing begins when you stop outsourcing your worth, when you sit with your silence and realize it's not empty, it's sacred. Jung said, wholeness is not perfection, it's integration. You are not broken. You are just scattered across old wounds and forgotten memories. And now, slowly, you are gathering. Not to become someone new, but to remember the one you've always been. So maybe it was never about lust. Maybe it was always a longing to return to yourself, to hold the parts of you gave away just to feel loved, to stop running, not from others, but from your own silence. Carl Jung said, "We don't find ourselves, we remember ourselves." And now you remember that your soul doesn't want noise, it wants truth. Not attention, but presence. Not another body, but your own embrace. So pause. And if this touched you, let it stay. Not as pain, but as a reminder. You were never too much. You were just too deep for shallow love.